And this is typical of John, who can't remember much at all. I'm going to skip forward a little bit with the haircut providing the thread going through. John's been sent, set in Bristol at the moment, John's been sent down the road to the off-licence to get some wine in, whilst his wife entertains the latest crisis of her friend Julie. So wine is much needed. So John's been sent down to get supplies in. It was quite a warm evening. The previous day's rain had given way to as much sunshine as could be expected in July. Summers had, when John grew up, seemed to have been warmer and longer, for that matter. And what had happened to the white dog shit that used to litter the streets in August? You just don't see them anymore. All along the street, windows were open from which diverse music emerged. Seeing as time was to be wasted, he decided to go to the farther offering, which offered the better choice, and if he wasn't very much mistaken, was doing a special on New World Whites. He got to the main road quicker than he wanted and slowed down still further, wondering for a moment if it would not be a bad idea to pop into a pub and have a pint. No, the girls would be waiting for their wine, and Julie was easier to handle with something alcoholic in front of her. He was to take his time, but not to take too much time. The haircut sat outside the Hobgoblin, drinking Guinness. Absurd. A population of 1 million or so in a city where you never seem to see the same person twice. Never when you want to anyway, but it wasn't her. It was just the haircut. It wasn't Sarah. There is the name said at last. It didn't even look like her, save for the hair. Perhaps not even that was much longer maybe. The girl's, not Sarah's. Sarah Johnson. Sarah Catherine Johnson. Sarah tosses her head forward and slips on a thick roll-neck jumper. She shakes her hair back and it falls to the top of her shoulders as she looks at herself critically in the mirror set on the top of a tall boy. "You happy?" she says. "Happy. I might have a surprise for you tonight." "Sounds good," as he rises to his elbows in the bed. He feels a vague sense of disquiet. Why the need for surprises? They're all right as they are. I've been thinking about it for a while, and now I've decided. If it's something you really want. She nods, smiles, and shakes her head into the mirror. Then she pulls on her jeans and steps into the heavy-duty clogs she loves. That never happened. Not to them, at least. Maybe John had picked it all up somewhere, the basic points anyway, and then added himself and Sarah into the mix. Yet they weren't like him and Sarah. There was something awry. He couldn't picture it for him, and the dialogue sounded false in his head. It was the Garden of Eden. The novel with the haircut had enmeshed itself with whatever might have truly happened. He couldn't remember what had truly happened. Like a parasitical creeper, the novel had wound itself around reality until it was destroyed and only the parasite could be seen. A parasitical creeper or a virus. John didn't know anything about either. He checked his wallet to make sure he had enough money for the wine. He could always put it on the card, a little more time wasted. She is late, which isn't like her. He's been sitting and waiting for her in the Peacock for a pint, and maybe she'll have got another one in, maybe she'll want to go elsewhere when she does arrive. But it's such a pleasure ordering a pint in the Peacock. You press a buzzer set in the headrest of the bench, and a barmaid comes to take your order. You know the Peacock? Mansfield Road on the left-hand side. Quite possible. He's never known a pub like it. Sarah introduced it to him when they had sat together with a group of her friends from her art college, talking about Sheila. There he is. And John said he deserved the recognition wrongly reserved for Clint. He was happy that he knew Sheila and preferred him to Clint. There was something false about the golden intertwined bodies. Sheila's, though, he recognised. That had been the first night in the pub. She's introduced him to the real ales of the Lincolnshire poacher too, they tend to meet here. He doesn't mind drinking alone when he knows she'll be with him soon. No doubt she's delayed at the college. The final exhibition is 2 months away, but all her efforts, no matter in what sphere, are focused on that end. That isn't quite true, but it could seem that way if one was so inclined, but John isn't so inclined. They see each other as often as possible, every day, really, save for the odd occasion. He knows that sometimes she has to work late, and he likes to watch her as she bends over to time, with such rapt concentration, her hands flitting surely across the drawings, stopping to unheedingly tuck a stray strand behind her ears. She has beautiful ears. He tries to concentrate on the book he's been pretending to read, a history of British India, but he lets his eyes wander from the printed page to the flocked wallpaper of the pub and the few drinkers scattered about deep plush benches and high-backed wooden chairs. No one is drinking lager. Sarah will have a Newcastle brown when she arrives. Not long now. He hopes the rain has stopped, or that she remembered her umbrella this morning. He should have reminded her, but he forgot. John decided to let the girls have the wine and pick up a few cold Amstels for himself. He wonders, as he's sipping the Guinness, he will have to work as hard at university. He's already started, in a sense, the history being a relaxation from the self-imposed task of consuming the Russians. He hopes to knock off a few Frenchmen over the summer. He flicks forward some pages to find how far off is the Indian mutiny. Still a vast expanse of time. The door opens, but Sarah is not amongst the group that enter, shaking the wet from umbrellas and coats. He should have reminded her. They look like they go to the Poly too, the same stylish dishevelment. Mind you, John can talk. He's never been, is not now one for the flash suit or expensive leather jacket. The one he has, which Sarah lends him and which he thinks she will give him in the end, will do very nicely, thank you. It might even still smell of her, although he's not able to identify quite what Sarah does smell of, except herself. Chanel, perhaps, or obsession. Then he realises he probably doesn't know the difference anyway. Then she is there in the doorway. She has on a large duffel coat with the hood up. The toggles are large cylinders of wood attached with leather thongs. Rain glistens off the coat in the orange light. She sees him and stands before him, saying she's sorry she's late. She takes a large rucksack from her back, places it on the chair opposite him, and then lifts the hood from her head. Well, she beams at him from beneath a newly cut fringe, and unselfconsciously twirls about her with arms outstretched. The pub notices her, and John stands and hugs her as she completes her turn. I think it's wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Her small white fingers pick at the heavy wooden toggles as she talks. That's why I'm late, you see. They kept me waiting forever at the hairdressers, all these bloody women getting huge perms and peroxiding their hair to death. But I really wanted it done today, I don't know why. She sits beside him, beaming still, and he passes his hand over her head. The hair is cut around her ears and cut or shaped into the nape. She shakes her head. It looks better, or messy, I think. It looked better at the hairdressers. The hood was to straighten it out a bit. Well, it's beautiful. You look just beautiful. He kisses her while stroking the back of her head and feels the smoothness of her skin and then the different smoothness of her hair. I knew you really liked it. I think I might have done it for you, really. I mean, I wouldn't have done it without you, knowing you'd like it, you see. I don't know what to say. Well, just buzz for a drink for me and we'll go home and you won't have to say anything at all. John discovered himself staring into the window of Bottoms Up, not at the array of placards proclaiming deals, nor at himself really, but at something beyond his own reflection, beyond the plane of the glass and unreachable, unseeable. His eyes refocused and he saw himself in his jeans and long-sleeved shirt, his hands in his pockets, his hair shaved short. He then saw the placard, Amstel, buy one get one free, and his mind was made up.